Sometimes you might decide to use sort of an unusual font for either a design or a title in a document that you're just not going to be sure that your printer is going to have that font. And you really want to make sure your printer, wherever you send it to print, has that font. And I don't mean your printer, in your office. I mean your print lab or your print shop. If you're sending this out, it's a big job. It's, somebody's brochure or business card or something like that, and you have to print it, send it to a professional printer. You have to be sure that they have the font that you are using in your document so that your document will print out properly. There's other ways to get around that, though, for some of your text on your documents. And the best way to get around that is to create outlines of your text. And basically all this does is your text it's a vector image, text is, except for it's still, it's based in type. And it's still going to look for that type family to complete, the instructions of printing that item on a piece of paper. So what you can do is you can create outlines which turns that letter, each letter, into an object, so a shape. And once it becomes a shape, it's no longer text, and you don't have to have the font type in order to successfully print this document. Most of the time. Sometimes you run into trouble. Most of the time, creating an outline works. So I'm just going to create a word here. And since it's football season, I'm going to write, maybe I am football, and I'll make that nice and big so you can see it. And then I'm going to pick a fancy font. So let's pick, oops, sorry, I jumped off my page here. Let's pick something kind of unusual, like, how about this one right here? Alright, so that's probably not that unusual, but it'll give you a good example of what happens. Alright, so if I want to turn this into outlines, and that basically just turns each letter into a shape with a path. So it creates the lines, the paths of these shapes. So I'm just going to go up to Type, and I'm going to pick Create Outlines. And when I click this, it doesn't look like anything happened. But if you watch, if I go over here and roll over it with my direct select, you can now see just a bunch of anchor points. And so we'll zoom in here a little bit closer so you can see what this looks like. Alright, so now we're zoomed in. If I roll over it, you can see that it has all these paths. And really, each letter consists of two paths, a kind of an inside and outside with a sort of a black fill. So that's where it comes in very handy. We could actually create, like in the book, they put an image as a fill. There's a lot of different interesting things you can do. Now, is this the thing to do every time? No. If you have smaller text, outlines aren't going to work. So if you just want to use some oddball font for your body copy or your body text in a document, I just suggest you don't do it. Alright, so pick something kind of more in the norm that is something you see on every computer. Also, if it's something that you want to be able to edit, once you do this, you can't edit the letters here. This is now a graphic. It's not a line of text anymore. It is a picture. It's a series of anchor points and lines. So as long as you're sure you're not going to want to change it, and it is a font that you're not sure if your print lab is going to have, then it's a good idea to turn your fonts into outlines, but only if they're big ones and bigger letters, and only if you know you're not going to have to edit the actual text later.